Hey, don't hate, don't hate. Hey, I don't care what anybody says, man. I'm feeling these. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. But regardless, I think you get the hint. Yeah, only me would buy some shit like this. I don't know. I think it's kind of... Morgana's cool with it. I'm Ryofu, and this is the Gaming Harbinger. I hope you're having a good day. And today we're going to talk about the 30th anniversary of A-kon 2019. Now, if you watched my previous video, I pretty much gave convention tips for beginners. And that video was actually inspired by this video. Now, I just went ahead and put out that video because I felt like it was just kind of off the top of my head, and it seemed like, hey, I can just whip this out pretty quickly. This one, I wanted to dig a little deeper and just give my thoughts. I guess you could call it a review of my A-kon experience this year. If you like this type of content, please let me know in the comments below or leave a like. And if you're not feeling it, let me know that as well, because as I've said in other videos, this is the infancy of this channel, so I'm just kind of feeling things out and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. But I felt like this is an anime convention, and I mean, most geeks / nerds like going to stuff like this, so it could hit on some levels, especially if you've never been to one and maybe you're thinking about going to one. So, A-kon this year, I want to just say before I get into the video that if you happen to be staff or work with A-kon in any way, that nothing I'm going to say is going to just be like berating the convention or anything like that. That's not my style, and that's not how I do things. And that's, to be honest with you, that's not even the type of content I want to put out. So I like having just a normal, healthy discussion of things, and, you know, and there will be times that I'll say stuff that a lot of people won't agree with, because to be quite frank, there's a lot of things in the video game industry and in anime, people feel a certain type of way, and I don't necessarily agree with how they handle those opinions. Okay, so for this part, I want to point out around January 18th, A-kon switched owners, and the new owner, Frank Powell, sent out a letter. And you can see that here. And by the way, these little segments, these screen captures, if you need to pause the video so you can read the letters, then that's more than fine. That's the whole purpose of this. But anyways, Frank Powell pretty much stated that, hey, we, ran into some difficulties with A-kon. A-kon is in financial distress. And I have pretty much come to step up to the plate, and now I'm in charge of A-kon. Now I'm the president, and I want to help this convention succeed. I fell in love with it, and I've worked with the convention for 4 years, so on and so forth. And now, I want to be a part of this thing. Well, it was kind of a general statement like that. So for most of us fans that have been attending this, we're kind of like, okay, so that means that, A-kon almost ceased to exist pretty much. And then, maybe a couple weeks later, we get this email saying, hey, your reservation for your room has been canceled, and now you will have to reserve another room because A-kon is going to be at a different venue. And this was very concerning for us. And I have to be honest here, I was a little frustrated by this because I'm one of those people that I reserved the room extremely early. And now, the convention is in June, and now it's February, it's January bleeding into February. And now I'm going to be competing with other people and fighting to reserve a room, a decent room that's not too far away at a good price. And the whole thing, I was just like, man, this is not cool at all. But, dealt with it. That's what you got to do. So then after this, there's another message, and I'm not sure if this was an email, and I'm trash when it comes to following up on email work or personal. So I noticed that this was actually posted on the website, and you could still look at it if you want to now, but I'm going to show it in this screen capture here. So after some time had passed, a couple of weeks later, like I said, I'm not sure if there was an email sent out or whatever, but there is a message posted on the A-kon website, and it's still up there right now if you're interested. And of course, I'm showing you right here in this screen capture, and it's titled, "So what happened? So what had happened?" No, I'm just kidding. So, and I won't go into all the details of this whole situation and circumstance, but I do want to say that he explains that the Fort Worth location was more than twice as expensive as the venue before it, the Anatole, in case you didn't know. Also, at the Fort Worth location, there were numerous exclusivity deals that had to be made with the internet, power, janitorial stuff, food, parking, etc. Whereas if this was just a regular hotel, sometimes cons get this for free or at a really low rate. So 2017 A-kon took a huge financial loss. In 2018, some adjustments were made and it was able to break even. While not acquiring more debt is awesome, it was also not able to make up the debt that was previously acquired. If you're familiar with any kind of convention, small or big, typically it's in a hotel space or a convention space, and you're walking around, you're going to panels, you're going to viewing rooms, you're going to the dealer's room, you get something to eat, you come back to the dealer's room, so on and so forth. Well, at Fair Park, pretty much there's multiple buildings like other places, but they're separated. They are close by, but they're separated. So it could take you 10 minutes to walk from a panel and then to go back to the dealer's room, and then you go, okay, I think I want to watch something a little bit and pass some time. Then you have to go, walk outside again. So pretty much all of this time, whenever you're going from place to place, you are outside. Once you step out of the panel room, you are outside. Once you step out of the dealer's room, you are outside in the heat. And it was effing hot, man. It was really hot. Totally not fat friendly. So, and totally not cosplay friendly either. So I think most people still dealt with it. I didn't hear a lot of people complaining vocally out loud per se, but it was definitely trying. I mean, if you wanted like something from a food truck, there was probably a long ass line and you were just baking out there, man. You were just baking. And like I said, and then you have to walk to wherever you want to walk to. And then unless you can figure a way to like, I'm going to spend 4 hours in the dealer's room, then you might be all right. Or I'm going to spend 4 hours in the game room, you're going to be all right. But for most people, that was not the case. Okay, so the next segment, we're going to talk about the panels. Now, I heard multiple people complain about this. And the interesting part about this is even the guests complained about this. Now, the reality is that, again, they worked with what they had. So rather than it be, just small little rooms, small conference rooms, rather than that, it was pretty much a big, massive room. And then they had curtain dividers, and that's how they divided up the panels. Now, sometimes in practice or in theory, that might sound okay, but I'm sure anyone that's been to a convention knows that this is not going to work because some panels are going to have music playing. Some of them are going to have just people talking really loudly. The guests, the voice actors, they really complained about this, unfortunately. And I mean, I have a feeling that this won't be an issue next year, but I mean, this was an issue this year. I'm really into going to the concerts. I love going to the concerts. And this time, the concerts, the dance, and a few tabletop gaming related stuff were off-site. Now, I looked high and low in the app. I looked high and low in the website, and I did not find anything stating that, hey, by the way, if you want to go to the dance, you're going to have to drive there, or we're going to provide, a shuttle to take you there. I didn't see anything like this. So I lost, or let me not say lost, but I completely missed the first musical act of the day on Friday because I didn't know that it was going to be off-site. I didn't see that anywhere. It just said the concerts are going to be at Gilley's. I'm not from here. How am I supposed to know that? How am I supposed to know that Gilley's is its separate entity? How was I supposed to know that? So it's very strange, man. And I looked just to see, maybe I missed an email, maybe I missed the website posting or something, and I didn't find anything. I just saw it list, the listing in the app saying it's at Gilley's. And I'm looking for a Gilley's room or a Gilley's building, and it doesn't exist, man. And then I realized, we eventually asked somebody and we figured out it's not even here. And now we pretty much just missed the first musical act because of just wasting time, and just looking around and like, what in the world? This isn't making sense. So for people that want to, like I said, go to the dance, go to concerts, and some tabletop relating stuff, you had to go outside of the convention. Now, I understand, since I've been to a lot of conventions, that occasionally there will be things happening outside of the con, but it'll be, of course, con related. Totally get that. But in this instance, it's like, hey, this should have been explained. This should have been crystal clear. And this was actually clear as mud. So I was a little agitated by that. And from my understanding, when I actually got there, I will say that the location, I kind of understand why they picked it, because they had a great sound system and they actually provided us a bar. Nice. And that's cool for adults and whatnot. So I guess you had to be 16 and up or something like that. I don't know. It was weird. Or you could be underage, but you had to be with an adult or something, which to me, I don't know. That's a little, risky area. And concerts have typically been for all ages. So I don't know. I thought it's cool for adults, but I mean, for the most part, from my understanding, A-kon has typically tried to remain safe on that. And I found that a little peculiar. Overall, I'm not really into stuff being off-site. Like I said, I understand it happens sometimes, but usually it's still within walking distance, and this wasn't really walking distance. Okay, so the last negative part of this is actually has nothing to do with A-kon, and is actually not A-kon's fault, and that is the hotel I was staying at, the Lorenzo, lost power like on that Saturday. But the thing is, we left so early that we didn't know it lost power until we came back that night. So what ended up happening is that here we are at 10:30, 11-ish, and we're having to pack all of our stuff and be relocated at another hotel, which, man, that was rough because, we're in the dark. It's freaking hot again. It's hot, and we're dealing with that. And then, like I said, we've had all these other bumps. We've been hot and sweaty all damn day. So, and that's not A-kon's fault, just to be clear, but it is just to point out that, you can also have just bad stuff happen for no reason, and it's totally unrelated, on top of just other stuff happening bad that is in other people's control. And that's how it goes, and that's not just with conventions, but that's any kind of trip you have. Things like that can happen. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that, that we can say, okay, A-kon, didn't do too shabby on here. So the first thing I would point out is going back to them mailing you your badge. Like the first, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years I attended A-kon, they did this, and then they stopped, and waiting till you get to the con to get your badge. It wasn't a big deal until A-kon started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you waiting in longer lines. But I remember them doing this like, way back when I first started going, and I was like, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. And even though, like I said in my previous video, I didn't really reap the benefits, I can tell you who did reap the benefits, and that is all the people that would have waited in the pre-reg line and they didn't have a line this year, and also just the people that that just walk up and get a badge regularly. This really, I think, condensed things and made things easier for everyone, especially, I'm assuming, especially staff. It made things easier for them. And I think it was a smart move. I think they should incorporate it again, for sure. Okay, so the next thing is the lines. As far as like the lines go, I think they did a pretty good job of keeping things organized and running smoothly. Now, I will say this, and this is no disrespect whatsoever, because I ain't about that, but I don't know if it's because of the guests we had, and maybe some of them aren't as popular or as big or whatever, but it almost seemed like the people, like there were no long lines except for maybe a small handful in comparison to all the other guests that were there. Like I got maybe about 5 autographs, and 2 of them I got at the same time. And those 2 in particular that was the only long line I waited in. And I waited maybe an hour. And for A-kon time, an hour is nothing. It isn't. I'm being serious. It's nothing. That's not that bad at all. So the other 3 autographs I got, I literally waited maybe 15 minutes at the most. So, but like I said, I don't know if it's a combination of them not being as big or if, like I said, it was really organized. But it seemed like it was organized as well. And they had the little chips that they give you, and they had everything. You come through this main big line, and then they disperse the line into whoever you're waiting in line for, which I think is really cool, because then you could just be like, okay, who do you want to wait in line for? Oh, this one and this one. Okay, here you go. Here's 2 chips for this person. Okay, get in whichever line you want to go in first. As far as the gaming room, I feel like A-kon has always done a pretty decent job on this. And I mean, it was pretty massive, but like I said, they've always done good with this. They've always had a decent amount of tournaments and stuff going on, arcade cabinets and just retro gaming, anything you could imagine. And I always respected that. They also always have like a massive tabletop gaming scene, and I think A-kon has always stayed on top of that and made sure that those 2 scenes are taken care of. So I don't really have anything negative to say about that. I think they've always done a pretty good job on that. I would also say that the dealer's room, and I might be mixing stuff up because I've gone to so many conventions, but I might be mixing this up, and just let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But from my understanding, there has been some years that A-kon has separated dealer's room from artist alley, and I think it's better to have the artist alley pretty close to the dealer's room. In fact, let those suckers bleed in, because to me, there are some incredibly talented people out there that will wow you. And I think most people, a majority of people will overlook the artist alley if you separate it. And they won't go there. They won't check out people's art. They won't, check out whatever things they're working on or whatever projects. They'll just bypass that and go look for, whatever Blu-ray or whatever plushie or whatever they're trying to get at that time. So I actually think it's good for these areas to be combined. And it also just makes the dealer's room look even more massive. And you're like, wow, there's so much crap here, and they did a really good job. And I prefer it to the setup the way it is the way it was this year. And I think they did a good job. Final thoughts on A-kon 2019 is I think they worked with what they had, and for the most part, I would say it was a success, but you know, the heat was just, man, it was rough. It was rough. Some things can be corrected, and I think they had to pick a place that was not too expensive, that they could recoup some money to, you know, pay off those losses from 2017. If we're going off of the information they're giving us, which I believe them, it's very thorough and very specific, and I believe what they're saying. So I kind of get that, okay, they needed to make back that money some way. And my only question is, will we have to, go there again for one more year and then be able to go to a better place? Or was it enough this year to where we can just, go to somewhere more convenient? But overall, I would say this year for me personally had a lot of ups and downs. And also too, I also want to add to that I met some pretty cool people. Shout out to Noble from Lost Paws and Tony Oliver. I had a really good time with him at the banquet. And overall, I would say it was a good time, but there were definitely some rough spots in there. But I think A-kon will be all right. And when you put things in perspective and think we may not have even had another A-kon, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So I totally respect all the people that were able to pull this A-kon off, and hopefully the next time it'll be much smoother, and things can go back to normal. And I know it's going to be challenging because A-kon has gotten bigger, and I know it's not an easy feat, especially reading those letters from Frank Powell. But anyways, thank you guys for checking out the video. It means a lot to me. Please leave comments. Let me know if you were at A-kon or any of your convention experiences. Until next time, I will see you in the next video.